All right, what if I told you there was a secret untapped energy force that could transform your software development team? Oh, better not do that. Something that could rejuvenate your people and keep them on the track towards continuous learning and growth. And what if I told you it wasn't actually that hard? The answer is right under our noses, and many of us are doing it already, but I'm not sure we've really harnessed the power in practice. Over the next 30 minutes, I'm going to attempt to tell you what I'm talking about here, how I've discovered it, and what you can do when you leave here today to implement it. As with anything else in life and business, along the way there's been successes and failures, and I've learned from both. Okay, so without further delay, I'm going to tell you the secret, and maybe you've already know because you've seen the title of the talk. The untapped power in your team is in your junior developers. I remember the first time I proposed the idea to my team, I might as well have just suggested that we spend some time refactoring some legacy code. I don't think... one sec. So in our industry, many people feel like junior developers are expensive, they're time intensive, and they're the people that we're going to need to babysit. And after we invest in them, we know, aren't they just going to leave and then go somewhere else? I don't think so. And today I'm going to challenge that perspective. Just like debugging a tricky piece of code, the solution lies in breaking the problem down into manageable parts. There are a lot of different people in this room with different backgrounds and levels of experience, but something that we all share in common is that we were all juniors once. Everything we know now, we once did for the first time. I'm going to tell a little story about when I was that junior who didn't know the difference between a symbol and a string. When I was fresh out of uni and looking for my first job opportunity, I got rejected a lot. Did anyone else here have that experience? Or did you all just get your first job that you applied for? It was an incredibly stressful time. You read all those job ads, they require X years of experience with a framework that has just been released X minutes ago. And you're like, how am I going to break into this world? How am I going to get on this path when everyone is just hiring people that have deciphered the secret to writing bug-free code on the first try every time without consulting Stack Overflow? But just like a needle in a haystack, finally something changed. Someone saw potential in me. Even though I had zero commercial Ruby experience, my code test submission was terrible, it was written like a PHP script. It wasn't what I had achieved or what I'd accomplished that got me the job. It's what the hiring manager saw in me, my passion and energy and excitement for the job, and they were willing to give me a go. They could see that I really wanted to do this and that I really wanted to be successful at it. To be honest, I was shocked when they offered me this job, but thankfully the company was willing to take on bet on me, and my mental credit and environment were as possible for me to be successful. They didn't just push me off the deep end and hope that I'd just figure it out on my own. They gave me the tools that I needed, trusting that if they did so, I would be passionate and keep being scrappy and turn into a really valuable part of the team. And I mean, I'm up here being asked to speak publicly to a whole room full of engineers now, so they must have done something right. Even though there were all kinds of crazy things happening at the company at that time, they shielded me from all of that and gave me a space to both fail and to learn. And oh, did I learn. That was the fastest period of growth that I've had in my entire career. And the way they've approached this was so impactful to me and so critical to who I've become as a developer that it's shaped how I lead others, and I just can't shut up about it. So aside from my personal experience, why should you consider hiring a junior? And if you're not a hiring manager, what should you tell your boss? And why should they look out for these junior gems? Here, I'll tell you 3 top reasons and how to convince your boss. So 1, juniors have an incredible willingness to dive into tasks that might seem mundane or less appealing for the seasoned experts, like seniors. For juniors, these are golden chances for them to learn, to get their hands dirty with real-world problems. It's how they build their skill set. So when talking to your boss, frame it this way. Hiring juniors allows us to smartly allocate our resources, ensuring that our senior talent is focused on high-impact strategic work that matches their expertise. Not only does this maximise the productivity of your senior staff, but it also accelerates the learning curve of your juniors. It's a perfect match. Seniors get to concentrate on the work that they find the most meaningful, while your juniors gain invaluable experience. Everyone is doing what benefits them the most, and the whole team's output skyrockets. I've seen this myself. Plus, it nurtures a culture of mentorship and growth where everyone has a role that suits their current journey and their aspirations. Think of it this way. Seniors, they're the deep divers, right? They've got the experience, they've got the know-how, and the juniors, they're quick, they're agile, they're ready to jump into action. Put together, what do you get? A team that's not just cost-effective, but it's actually more powerful together, cranking up the value and sparking innovation. 2, bringing juniors isn't just about filling a gap. It's about enhancing the entire ecosystem of your team. They ask questions that nobody else does, which can lead to valuable discussions that refine your processes and approaches. That out-of-date documentation that really would be great if you'd updated it, well, your junior is going to be asking about it, and they could even update it so they can learn more about the process and by reading and updating it. So tell your juniors tell your boss that your juniors not only learn from seniors, but also in their journey, they teach us a thing or two about adaptability, learning, and excitement of tackling new challenges. It's a beautiful symbiosis where everyone is teaching, everyone is learning, and the team grows stronger and more cohesive as a result. 3, investing juniors is like planting seeds for the future of the leadership of your company. There are folks who will grow up in your culture, embody your values, and potentially lead your team to new heights. I know I have learnt so much from juniors myself. Let your boss know that by nurturing these talents from the get-go, you're not just hiring for the role that you need today, but you're strategically building the leadership pipeline your company will rely on tomorrow. Plus, seeing them grow firsthand is one of the most rewarding experiences out there, hands down. So obviously, there's financial benefits, productivity benefits, and culture benefits to inviting these juniors in your team. If I've convinced you and you've decided to hire more juniors, how do you go about doing that? How are you going to find these gems amid all of the applications that you're going to be wading through? So you need to attract the right people. When you're advertising a position for a junior developer, be aware that these people are looking for companies who pay attention to culture, mentorship, and exciting technologies. The ones that you want to hire want a space to shine, but also a place that they can learn. I wouldn't focus on a list of requirements or years of experience, as they most likely won't have that yet, just like my personal story. But you can ask them to speak to any experience they have with the technology that they use, or even if it's just a personal dabbling in or learning at a boot camp. Now, talking about boot camps are a really great way to find some amazing candidates. I know for Ruby, General Assembly, and LeWagon are great places to start your search. These boot camps also have career days where you can speak, and it gives you the opportunity to give back to the software development community while also recruiting some awesome candidates. Once you have those applications in front of you, shortlist your candidates based on enthusiasm and potential rather than just technical skills. Communication and other soft skills are a huge plus when you're training and mentoring someone, and you can spot people with strengths in these areas by how they represent themselves and by other experiences they've listed in their work history. Some of your candidates may be career changers who have spent some time working in another field, are now looking to get a foot in tech. Think carefully about what they're bringing with them. A scientist is likely bringing great problem-solving skills and analytical skills, while somebody with a marketing background probably has pretty strong communication skills. Keep in mind that people can be taught technical skills, but it's very hard to teach work ethic and attitude. Look out for these things above all as you're going through the interview process. I also found some great research on diverse teams. A team with members that represent a target user are 144% more likely to say they understand the end user and address issues for that user and come up with ideas to meet their needs. Diverse teams build better products. Once you've considered all these things and you have a short list of your top candidates, you should do a phone screen. this is where you get to make your first impression of these candidates. I normally tell them a bit about the company and what it would be like if they wanted to join the company, as well as answering questions they have. What I'm looking for is their communication skills, if their salary expectations match the role, and if they can work in Australia. If I'm happy, I offer them a 1-hour take-home test that's relevant to our day-to-day work, rather than giving them some kind of theoretical puzzle. When they've submitted the code test, I always provide candidates with feedback. This means that if they aren't ultimately selected, they go away having received some value. They spent their own time unpaid doing this code test, so it's only fair that if you're not going to hire them, that you should give them some help in their job search as a way to show them that you value their time. They will appreciate it. We invite our candidates to also then, after that, do a 1-hour call to provide them with feedback on their solution. So collaborate with them on their code test, create a PR, and some of the team members will go through, create some comments on there, and questions that they're going to ask that person in that 1-hour interview. And then when they do that, so what this is going to do is it's also going to further show us, well, when finding the right junior gem, is it's going to show their communication skills, how they solve the problem. But then we'll ask them to do an extension as well, both to make sure they didn't just use ChatGPT to submit their code test, and also to see how they collaborate with the team. I also do a behavioural interview. I won't go into depth here on that, but you can find plenty of advice online about these. So once you've found your gem, now it's time to make them an offer. Once they've accepted, when they're ready to enrol them in your junior development program, which, if it's not obvious by now, you should definitely start designing and envisioning this before you hand them a job offer. That person's first impression of your company is going to come through onboarding. A positive onboarding experience helps them to feel comfortable in their new environment. Remember, this is the first place that they're sort of feeling out whether it's safe to ask questions, which will be critical in the future when you're in the middle of building something and you really want them to ask a question instead of breaking something. During onboarding, make sure that they have access to all the tools they need. They should have their laptop on day one, for example, arrange induction sessions for them to meet people across the business and give an introduction to your company culture. This time should be more than just paperwork and training videos. You're welcoming them to the team, and it should feel like that. Now, I don't mean to say it's going to be all sunshine and roses. A lot of what I've learned the hard way. When I was working at the University of Adelaide, we had a apprentice program there, and this new junior that came on, when they started, they were really eager. I think the onboarding was relatively good, but I had a lot of projects on that time. I was pulled away in lots of different directions on a lot of things, and what I failed to do was I failed to spend enough time with that junior. What happened as a result is that they ended up spending a lot of time churning away at some of the tasks that I gave them, and they ended up building really complex technical solutions, which are like, I was really impressed with their technical skills, but if they just had a little bit of guidance, asked me questions, and I'd been more available to them when they got stuck, then they would have had a much better time. And so from that, I've learned a lot, and I make sure to always, with my boss's setup, that that time, that critical 3 to 6 months at start is really important for a new junior. So one thing I focus a lot on and spend a lot of energy thinking about is when you start assigning tasks to your junior, make sure to balance the challenge level to keep your junior levels engaged without overwhelming them. So I found some research to back me up. There is a sweet spot in which training is neither too easy or too hard, where learning progresses most quickly. I found this myself, and this is where I focus all my attention on when observing juniors and trying to help them level up. The optimal learning is just beyond the person's current ability. This can result in a flow state, which is also associated with high learning and accuracy. So how do I achieve this? Easy, right? So my top way of achieving this is through pairing and targeted exercise, which promotes learning and it helps them to integrate into the team as well. So this is the time where you get to find their learning sweet spot and to continue to challenge them. asking questions while pairing to probe their understanding. It's a great way for you and them, and it also gives you an opportunity to see how well you are communicating concepts to them if they very quickly understand it, or if you have to tweak how to explain things. It's a two-way street. The whole process is great for your seniors as well. Everyone involved with a junior has to slow down, practice patience, and think carefully about why they do what they do. You have to communicate how to set up your environment, what tools you need to bring along the task to completion. You can ramp up the difficulty as you go, make sure to be providing regular feedback along the way. There's a concept called psychological safety developed by Dr. Amy Edmondson out of Harvard that has become sort of a corporate buzzword these days, but it's actually incredibly transformative as you're building a culture. It was mentioned in a great engaging talk yesterday, and I know you're all paying attention because of the bear. The basic idea behind psychological safety is that you're creating an environment where people feel like it's safe to fail, where when they don't feel safe to fail, they're going to be stressed, and they're going to be less innovative, take less risks, and maybe even make mistakes because they feel like they won't be able to succeed perfectly every time. This is the difference between machines that are programming and the humans doing the programming. You can't really get around these issues of self-confidence and egos and performance and pretend like they're not there. This stuff is real. Here's a quote from a junior that I interviewed for this talk. They spoke to me about how speaking with other developers and seeing that even seniors are nervous from time to time, this helped them to realise it's a shared experience and okay to be wrong or nervous. A quote from Robert Sutton that I really like: psychological safety is the key to creating a workspace where people can be confident enough to act without undue fear of being ridiculed, punished or fired, and be humble enough to openly doubt what is believed or done. So I put some books up on the screen if you want to learn more about this concept, because it's definitely worth your time to read about. As you're going through this process, one of the major concerns a lot of people have about hiring juniors is they say, we're in a remote environment, so we're really not in this position to be mentoring people. This kind of thing needs to take place in person in the office. You need to be side by side with them for them to level up fast. I'm living proof that is not the case. It's absolutely possible to do this effectively in a remote setting. I've already shared a bunch of methods, especially pairing, that is really worked really well for me in a remote setting. But I know you find your own ways, and I want you to imagine some scenarios that might help you picture the good and the bad. Imagine you're on the fly on the wall in a Google Meet between a junior and a senior pairing with them. The junior shares their screen. It's kind of hard to see. The senior gets frustrated, visually frustrated, and says, oh no, it's all right. They share their screen, and they show the junior how it's done. The junior then tunes out, gets confused, and stops asking questions. They fear that they don't want to slow things down. Oh, this senior's in the flow. I really want to let them just get this thing done. The senior then gets stuck at some point and discreetly on another screen does a quick Google search to find the answer, and then they say to the junior, oh, look, I found the answer. Here it is, and then quickly types away. So now imagine another call. These two are in a tool built for pairing like Tuple. The junior is doing all the typing. When the junior gets stuck, the senior waits for them to work it out without jumping right to the answer. If the senior needs to look something up, they ask the junior to do it so they can learn to Google the things together and how to Google effectively. The senior notices something but quizzes the junior to give the answer, so they have to think about what they are typing. Is this a much better scenario? I know, I prefer it. So there's some more tips as well. I highly recommend that you reach out preemptively, asking if they want to pair. They might think you're busy and not ask again. So really making sure to establish a safe environment for them learning early on. One-on-ones are a critical time for giving feedback. It's really important to give feedback to them so that they can help in that sort of session. But then if you're praising them, it's really recommended to do that in a public session. I'd also like doing a thing called a book club where you can get to look at different topics and things like that that might be great to learn about. There's not the work that they're working on. Even just a pairing session that you set up maybe every fortnight to work on something that's completely different from the normal work in the teams that you're in. You could focus on some maybe general computer science stuff if that's something that they want to do, or design patterns, those sorts of things. So as we close up our time together, I want to address the concern that gets up a lot when hiring juniors. We're going to invest all this time in them, but aren't they just going to go and leave and go to another company, and then we're going to have to start over again? My answer to that question is this: if you're creating an environment where people feel invested in and they feel they have a clear trajectory to advance their career path, they're much less likely to be bounding from job to job. If you do the things that we've talked about today and you do them well, these juniors are going to realise quickly that they've got a rare thing in working for you. They're going to have been having drinks with their colleagues and other firms who are stressed to the nth degree because of the pressures they're feeling, or everything is disorganised, or no one has any time for them. If you're truly investing in your juniors the way you should be, they're going to be enjoying working for you and enjoying being around you. The fact that you hire juniors and how you treat them is going to be your competitive advantage, not only because you'll be attracting the top talent and getting a reputation for being an excellent company to work for, but also because this diversity, this energy, this vitality is going to get the rest of your team excited about what they do. I hope this information's been helpful to you, and remember, give your junior gems a chance.